So I think Triple H has done a pretty damn good job, all things considered. I think there have been a bunch of moments that we should be really happy that we got that we wouldn't have got before. I mean, even someone like Jey Uso winning the Royal Rumble, I don't think the old WWE would have taken that risk, and I love it. I know it created a bunch of back and forth on the internet, but that's fine. I'm a content creator. It gives me content to create. But I don't think the introduction of the Women's US and Intercontinental Championships were very... Well, they just weren't very good, whether they came out of nowhere and they felt a little bit lackluster. I just feel like they should have been coronated on a bigger show, like a WrestleMania or a SummerSlam or a Rumble or whatever you want to do. Maybe you could have created your own, sort of, not your own pay-per-view, but you could have taken one of the PLEs that we do have, and that should have been the main event. It just came and went so fast. There wasn't a big announcement. It just happened randomly on a SmackDown. I think the first one was. Nick Aldis just told us. I think that's what happened. I can't remember. But that's the point. It should have been a moment in time that we could have gone back to, and instead it came and it went. And even now, the two champions, like Lyra Valkyria, and again, this is not the talent's fault at all. It goes to the creative team. Lyra Valkyria has great matches, but she hasn't had one proper feud. Shinsuke's won that thing, and sometimes she can't even get on TV. And Chelsea Green on the other side has been doing so much entertaining stuff. You know, her Secret Harvest, whatever the flub it's called. They're so much fun. But that belt too, I mean, she did all that stuff with Meacham, which was fine, but it was kind of drawn out. And then the Zelina Vega feud was all over the place because Zelina lost to Piper Niven, but then she was still kind of chipping away. I just feel like, especially what we have done with the men's Intercontinental title especially, that should be the template for whatever kind of title you are trying to rehabbing. So to bring these into the world and almost put them at a level that the old belts used to be, I just don't really get it. And I'm sure there was a reason for it. Maybe they realized that they didn't have, you know, a better time to debut them. But you make the time, or you figure it out, or you delay them, because I do think it's right that they should be on the television. Of course, you know, the women should have a mid-card title, for lack of a better term. But we can just do more with it. So now I actually get more disappointed about it because it's there, and I get to see it, and just kind of flounders around a little bit. And part B to that would probably be all the tag team divisions. I think there's more potential there too.
I suppose if you're pushing me for an answer, failing to sign Will Ospreay. There, right, I'll give you that one, because Will Ospreay is just sensational, the best wrestler in the world probably right now. And for me, like, and this isn't necessarily a, you know, put your foot on the throat of AEW and keep applying pressure, but like, in my opinion, Triple H should have tried to move heaven and earth to sign Will Ospreay, because he's going to be the guy for AEW. We are on the road. We talk about it constantly on our AEW podcast. We're on the road to finally crowning Will Ospreay as AEW World Champion. It feels insane that he hasn't become World Champion already, but it's not like they've missed opportunities. He's had incredible moments at Wembley. He's had, I mean, how many good matches? Sensational, phenomenal, 5 stars, blah, 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 blah. How many matches does he have? It's week in, week out. You have to, like, he could probably get a 5-star match out of me, Andy. He is genuinely unbelievable, and people have known this for a long, long time. And let's be honest, WWE have been sniffing around him for a long time, from the time he was in WCPW. You're welcome, AEW, by the way. But I still remember, like, I think it was Paul Heyman offering him a contract when he was on an Inside the Ropes tour thing.
An Evolve contract.
Yes.
Yeah.
But, like, yeah, they should have tried to sign him, not just to keep him away from AEW, but because he's the best, and they should always try and get the best. I'd also be fascinated to see not what a Will Ospreay would look like in WWE, but what Will Ospreay would have done to WWE's output. Yes, in all likelihood, they'd have been like, slow it down, kid, and change what he's done and limited him, to be perfectly honest. But what if there's a version of events where they're like, Jesus, look at what this guy can do, and that opens the doors to them kind of, you know, loosening the reins somewhat on some of the other stars that they've got, who are not as talented, no one's as talented as Will Ospreay, but is right up there in my opinion. Look, I get it, he doesn't embrace the grind, that's fair enough at the end of the day.
He ran from it, actually.
It's a bit of a bitch move saying that about him. Let's be perfectly honest, you're just like, you're the guy who's like, man, I never wanted to date her anyway, so ugly if anything for me. Like, he's the best. Obviously they wanted to sign him, obviously they should have signed him. For me, that's Triple H's biggest mistake.
Nice. Gone for a smaller option. Smaller scale option than some of the bigger picture stuff on this video, and go for a specific booking decision that I still look at in 2025 and go, what are we doing? What are we doing? That being the failure to capitalize on Chad Gable post heel turn last year. I think it was shortly after he signed his new contract with the Fed. I think the Sami Zayn storyline was really solid stuff, building up to this awesome Raw match with a really well executed heel turn, where Chad just comes from behind off camera and suplexes this guy over his head. And it's like, cool, we're off to the races. This is a different booking era. We're 2 years into the Triple H stuff at this stage, but you know, it's an era where people like Chad Gable can expect more of a chance. And this is a guy that loads of people have been calling for a big singles POOSH for a long time. And we never got it. We simply never got it. Now, he has been on television with greater frequency since the angle. And he is probably very happy because he shows up to work. He gets 15 minutes on Raw every week, goes home, pretty chill. So he's, you know, this is better than Shorty G, obviously. But I just look at his creative since then. The de-emphasis of him as a single star, the way the American-made stable has been handled. My God. I mean, that had so much promise to start with. You have this really exciting jock idiot tag team in the Creed brothers. They're really fun. They throw people around. Brutus does a crazy cannonball that he maybe should not do forever. But, you know, and Ivy Nile's a lot of fun as well. And it's like you pair them with Chad Gable and it's like, cool, here we go. Very quickly, it just becomes a punchline for a Kurt Angle chant that you artificially put into the theme tune so that you can, you know, get the "you suck" in 2025. They very quickly descend into just a gang of jokers who wear dungarees that have the American flag on them, and you know they never really win anything of significance. They fart around, they do this, they do that, and now Chad Gable, you tell this stupid story of him having. You know, okay, so fundamentally, starting off, Chad Gable having trouble with luchadors, whatever, you can do some cool wrestling-centric stuff with that. Instead, you come up with this grande Americano nonsense. Look, it's quite a funny name. It's a Starbucks order, okay? You know, give him a bit of credit for that. It's stupid, right? It's really stupid. But you piss off everyone in Mexico with the portrayal of this. You use a stupid AI vignette that has, like, dudes with 20 fingers. I mean, the thing that got renamed, I won't mention it specifically, but I probably shouldn't have done that either. The whole thing's just a shambles. And it's like, look, this is a kind of wrestling story that the man under the mask who everyone knows, it's been done in wrestling since like the 50s, right? It's nothing new. But this particular execution of it just feels like the biggest pile of slop, fake nonsense. And I just can't fathom not capitalising on Chad a year ago. If they'd done that, we wouldn't be here and living through all this crap. Why did American Made turn into a stupid meme act where I've got a bandana and I make a silly face? It's like, cool, just like, go and have a killer wrestling match, my dude. Chad Gable, since day one, I have always thought, since day one when he was doing the story with Jason Jordan in NXT and he was trying to convince him to be his tag team partner, I was like, this guy's got like the Kurt Angle goofball charisma. It's right there. He's a little dorky guy who is also a killer pro wrestler. The parallel was very, very clear and it's never transpired and sadly I don't think it ever will.
Now, obviously, there's been an awful lot of good over the last couple of years since Triple H has taken over as the head of WWE Creative or whatever the hell his title is. I've completely forgotten now. But there's been a lot of good stuff. Great storylines, great matches, great angles, characters, all these things. Just moments that make your mind explode and go, oh, this is why I love wrestling. There's been a lot of that, of course. But there's also been a few mistakes here or there. There's been a few things where you go, oh, why have they done that? Like, this is wrestling, it's weekly, it's always there, it's always on. There are bound to be times when things just don't work for a number of reasons. Sometimes it's just people not connecting with characters, and sometimes it's like it can't be helped. Or sometimes it's not great creative, and it's a bit lazy creative, and it's people taking something that should have been great and fumbling it. And that is exactly what happened, in my opinion, when it comes to the Bayley babyface stuff that happened, obviously, on the road to WrestleMania 40. Pardon me. My body's rejecting the fact that this thing happened. It's letting out gas, just being annoyed by it. But yeah, obviously she won the Rumble. She won the Rumble heading into WrestleMania 40, and she turned babyface. It was a whole big thing. People were naturally just wanting to get behind Bayley and support her again for the first time in years. And it really felt like we were getting to a level of popularity with Bayley again that we'd not seen since she was the hugger in NXT. Like, it was like, okay, we're back. But it's like a weird hybrid character where it's like a little bit of hugger, a little bit of the role model, a bit of everything all in one. Yeah, we're into this. Let's see where it goes. And initially, it was going okay. Like, the road to WrestleMania story with her and Io Sky was fine. It was getting us there. That's all that mattered. She was going to get this big moment at WrestleMania, hopefully, and win the big one. And she did. She won the big one. She, against like all Damage Control and Io Sky, she did it. She won that title. She got a weird theme song tune, whatever you want to call it. That's its own thing, and that was a bit deflating, let's say, seeing that song and just not getting either the old Bailey song or just something different. But that's, yeah, I'm digressing there hugely. But it felt like that was it. That was the big moment. Now where we're going to go with it. And where we went was, well, somewhere quite disappointing because the matches were just there, really. Throwaway matches in Backlash. I think she had the Naomi and Tiffany Stratton three-way triple threat. And then she had Piper Niven at Clash at the Castle in Scotland, which was, again, just fine. Then she eventually lost the belt to Nia Jax. And there's no real defense there where you go, yeah, it was a great Bayley moment where this character felt like she was thriving and had a big moment. And the storylines weren't really there. I can't think of anything that's really popping out in my mind where I go, yeah, that's compelling. That's a great use of a character that people want to support and just be there for. She just felt like an accessory on SmackDown. She should have felt like somebody at the center of that show. People wanted to see her, like they're captivated by her on the mic. They love her. They want to celebrate Bayley, and she was just not used a lot, really. Or when she was there, she was just thrown into things. Like she wasn't the center of attention. She wasn't like an attraction. She was just there. Like we'd all got behind her. We'd all supported her and shown that we wanted to invest in Bayley again. And WWE just went, yeah, we'll just put her in a few nothing matches and just have her get beaten up by villains, and then Nia Jax will destroy her in the end. It did just feel inevitable. It was like she's going to lose this belt to Nia Jax and Tiffany Stratton, and then an actual story is going to take place where obviously you have the Nia Jax, Tiffany Stratton like friendship. Well, is it going to bubble over? Are they going to break up and not be friends? Like that felt like an actual story, and that was just waiting to take the belt off someone who we'd loved so much coming into her big win. It felt like a waste. It felt like a massive waste. So if I had the chance to erase something from this era, this Triple H era, it would be the bad using or the wasting of Bayley's big moment, really. A big kind of like post-WrestleMania run as the champion. I'd erase all of that and just actually book her properly, put her in some compelling feud. She could have had like a friendship bubbling over like feud thing with Naomi. That could have been interesting. Or just a real like despicable person to be up against where you just want to root for this underdog. Like something like that. Just something just like a little bit more compelling than just nothing matches that none of us can really remember. If you try and think back on those matches, nothing really jumps out. So yeah, a waste, an annoying waste. So yeah, that's the one thing we need to erase.
And I've come up with a very 2025 problem, that being the state of Friday Night SmackDown. And I think it's important to do it on a Triple H-centric video because he would rather be doing it on a Road Dogg-centric video. Unfortunately for him, we'd never make a Road Dogg-centric video. Yeah, throwing Road Dogg to the Wolves ultimately to take the blame for the decline of SmackDown, particularly in the 3-hour era, but let's not pretend there weren't problems with this show beforehand. It's just become so apparent when, obviously, the move for Raw, especially to Netflix, that SmackDown was going to become the B show again, that it's become the B show behind the scenes. We're not, yes, we're going to acknowledge that one's the A show, one's the B show. There's typically always been a flagship. SmackDown was a flagship when it was on Fox, for example. But you're not supposed to see that play out on screen. Like, it's not supposed to manifest as a reality. And the booking, the lack of talent, the obvious reliance on Cody Rhodes predominantly as the WWE champion, the very occasional appearances of other stars through a completely abused transfer window that just allowed the kind of free roaming of wrestlers heading into Royal Rumble and then ultimately WrestleMania season. And just a continuation of problems that have ultimately started to mount as WWE's creative decline begins. Signs were there in 2024 that the true creative peak of WWE was coming to an end. But it's just hit with a thud in 2025, and you get it watching SmackDown. And there are elements of SmackDown that I still enjoy every week as well. I don't think we are anywhere near the disaster area of, say, the mid to late 2000s that took us pretty much to the end of the 2010s. Far from it. And WWE are lucky in that regard because the product is temperature hot, not boiling. And there is a roster full of wrestlers that ultimately are still keen to like make the most money they can ever make in their life in this era where WWE continues to earn and earn and earn and earn. But SmackDown creatively just feels as lazy as it is looking. Rematches, Debbie Deeks, the idea that you can have a winner and a loser, but then both guys get to win, actually.
Deeks?
It's a disqualification, obviously. Come on, you guys know this. Just the idea now that like a wrestler will win and then immediately the other wrestler will get the heat back. all of these little nasty shortcuts that were taken as WWE declined for 20 years, pretty much, when it went terrible, have crept back in. And it's easy to blame the Road Dogg because so many of them were his traits when he used to be fighting people on Twitter about wins and losses not mattering. But Triple H is a boss, so he could just say no to these things. If it really was the D-O-double-G, Triple H could just say N-O and like put a red line through all of it, and he doesn't. So he has to take the blame for that. 2 hours might see this get a little bit easier on people that actually want to watch and enjoy SmackDown. But I do worry that in this Netflix era in particular, there will be so much attention focused on the Netflix stuff that matters that SmackDown will continue to suffer.
I can think of several mistakes Triple H has made as a booker, as a wrestler, as a talent, as a politician, allegedly, from wrestling. But a very specific one to me is I would erase 2019 to 2021 NXT purely to get the minutes back from my life. I was truly excited about the formation of All Elite Wrestling, the idea of... I used to write lists in 2016 and 2017 about changes I would personally make to WWE. This would go, they would do more of this, get rid of that, do this. And on this checklist, AEW answered every single one, or promised to answer every single one. So I was really excited about just living in the world of AEW every Thursday after watching it on TV, like an arena-sized weekly TV show. This is awesome. So when they put it head-to-head, and I loved NXT from like 2013, 14 to 17, 18, where it became like, not love. And it just felt like it was an imposition on my time, and I knew everyone knows exactly what was going on, or at least you should. So it felt like a chore. It felt like it was getting in the way. I almost resented it. And then in tandem with the fact that the slot and the positioning and the rationale behind it, it tumbled into an era of excess. So many shot kick out faces, the amount of false finishes, totally out of control. So it just became a chore that I found pretty excruciating at times to watch. 2021 Black and Gold NXT is one of the most bleak, miserable pro wrestling viewing experiences imaginable. It just felt so desperate and cynical and so detached from the pulse. The idea of, like, Paul Levesque, it's almost miraculous and certainly weird that he books, we're recording this in April 2025, the way he books on the main roster is so different. It's so like, melodramatic and soapy and cinematic compared to what he was doing with NXT. My God, long punishing matches for the sake of it between virtually all tweeners in black trunks going 20 minutes on TV in this dank pit that was the Capitol Wrestling Center. It was truly a Zack Snyder gritty reboot of PWG. Charmless, dour, like so technically proficient that you actually felt like an asshole for not saying it was good, because there was clearly a lot of work and detail and proper graft and pain going and assembling those matches. I just hated them. One more thing as well. I sensed NXT needed to change. I wrote an article for WhatCulture called WWE Needs to Eliminate NXT. Right? And the amount of crap I got for that online, even though I was demonstrably correct, it happened, and WWE has improved subsequently by changing the model. So that's a little personal thing. I was right. It was the worst. It was soul-crushing. I want my life back.
Not wanting to rehash too much of what has been said elsewhere on this video, I will go with the decision to split the tag team titles at WrestleMania 40. Now, did WWE have enough tag teams at that time to warrant tag titles for each brand? Probably they did. I'd say they probably did, but it all depends on how those divisions and how those belts are booked. And man, that's where things fell apart after WrestleMania 40. The 6-team ladder match at Mania 40, that was fun. That had some really great spots, a lot of your kind of standard car crash chaos, and it was particularly nice to see R-Truth get a Mania moment. I mean, Truth and Miz, they won the Raw tag titles, A-Town Down Under won the SmackDown tag titles, which again wasn't an awful choice, a young heel team. I mean, kind of balance it out a little bit, heels winning, babyfaces winning. Unfortunately though, Grayson Waller and Austin Theory, they only defended those titles twice in the 3 months that they had them, one of which was when they dropped the belts to DIY. As for the Raw titles, they were defended a smidge more, 5 times in 2.5 months, which included dropping them to Finn Balor and JD McDonough. And this is where the Raw belts really became an afterthought. I mean, Finn and JD, they only had 3 title matches in 6 months. And one of those, of course, was when they dropped the belts to the War Raiders. So that's yeah, 3 matches in 6 months is just so poor, man. So poor. If there was no real plan in place for either of those belts or each brand's tag divisions, you might as well have not bothered splitting the belts in the first place. Instead, you could have just introduced one new set of tag titles, undisputed tag titles, but only the one set rather than, because at the time the champs were carrying around 2 belts apiece. So you have your champions bounce between 2 brands with one solid, healthy tag division featuring the likes of Judgment Day, 8 Down Under, Street Profits, Motor City Machine Guns, War Raiders, New Catch Republic, New Day, LWO, Los Garza, DIY, Pretty Deadly, Yes Boy. And they can all compete for that one set of belts. And you don't need to worry too much about 2 divisions. You just keep your focus there. I mean, 2 divisions, 2 belts could have worked, but the booking of it after WrestleMania, nah, man, absolutely dead in the water.